Alright guys, we are into round 4 of the Sunday Evening Cup Series. Of course, as always, I will be joined with Mizcast to give us some analysis and insight into the game. We will be watching Hot Hands versus Water, as you guys did not see through this stream, but Water pretty much dominated in their last performance. I think the game ended with the enemy team only securing a total of 1 kill by the end of that match. And I see Miz is here with us as the draft has gotten underway. Of course, Lycan and Faceless Void. We're not going to see Lycan like last game as it did sneak by, but didn't really do what we usually see Lycan do to the full extent. He did a decent job at split pushing, but wasn't able to secure any trades in towers or anything of that nature. So, but we won't see him.
It showed us what Lycan struggled with. If you 5-man group and push, well, Lycan can split push and delay and delay and delay. But if Lycan gets picked off and then the other team then 5-man split push while Lycan doesn't have lanes prepared for the split push, then he shows just how weak he can be as a hero in team fights. And, you know, Hot Hands ended up walking away with the win. So they do choose to ban it out here because they don't want to play against it again. Or sorry, Water bans it out because of course they don't want Hot Hands to get it on their team on the Dire side, but it does free up the Death Prophet, which Hot Hands will pick up.
Yeah, so they do get a Rasta in addition to that.
They can definitely pressure quite a bit of towers with this. They got a lot of push potential, but you know, I always say this: Death Prophet is not a push-specific hero. It's a hero that can push really well, but I view it as just the same as any other core, just kind of a more mid-game style core that kind of gets the ball rolling and hopefully tries to snowball out of control as the game goes on.
Right, and with the Yules, definitely gives her actually her own disable innately because it's, I mean, it's not innate with the hero, sure, but because that's the general build you go for, it's pretty innate that she does get some form of a disable, and the silence is nothing to scoff at. But yeah, we will see Tide being banned out, and Hot Hands banning Sven, not a common hero by any stretch of the imagination. However, that doesn't mean the hero is weak or useless. Sven can definitely dominate a game when he gets to that BKB, Daedalus, Mob level of farm and run over your team if you're not careful. So definitely a good ban, but interesting to say the least, because you really just don't see him that much. Maybe they know something about Water that I don't too. I mean, that could also these teams probably scrim each other. I would assume so, considering they average the same. They get pretty far into the tournament. Both teams, so.
Sven is a hero that's starting to see a little bit more play. It was picked, I believe, twice at least in the that Russian tournament.
The Moscow DreamHack.
Yeah, the Moscow whatever it's called.
DreamHack, dude. I love DreamHack. You gotta give DreamHack respect.
I just have this vision of like DreamHack is always just like this Swedish event.
No.
It's just weird to me that it was not in Sweden.
They do a lot in Ukraine too, but yeah. Or they do one in Ukraine every year, but yeah.
Yeah, he was played, I believe, twice there at least. So maybe it is really just rising among the ranks in the current meta. But yeah, Hot Hands does choose to ban it off. And they also ban off the Tinker. And of course, Water bans out the Tidehunter, even though Power is their current name. And of course the Viper, who is always annoying, regardless of what team he's on. But Hot Hands picks up Skywrath. They have two really, really strong support heroes. Mm-hmm. And two of probably the top tier picks when it comes to support heroes that you can generally get in a draft.
So yeah, Pugna definitely changes the way this game's going to break down, though, because Pugna Ward makes Skywrath major. They have to consider when and where to use his abilities. Definitely at the whim of that ward. Same with Shadow Shaman, too. All of his abilities are very high mana cost. And to be honest, based on the current trends in the meta of how Death Prophet builds, Yules is generally the first item after phase boots. That's not a high HP build. And so 1 or 2 ticks from a level 4 ward can really inhibit Death Prophet from being able to man up or get into the fight. Because you'll lose, about 200 HP per Crypt Swarm. You'll lose about 300 HP from a ultimate use. And of course, Skywrath and Shadow Shaman, it's only worse. Their mana costs are much higher because they don't get a passive that decreases the cooldown. And of course, the mana cost of the spells. And Centaur, definitely a hero that cares a lot less about the ward. Double Edge, 0 mana cost. Of course, his passive doesn't cost mana, and it makes, or it allows damage to be dealt just by him being in the fight. And honestly, Stampede, you generally will pop outside of the fight. However, Centaur will have to blink and stomp and then pop his ultimate, because if he pops his ultimate in range of the ward, of course, that'll cancel his blink, prevent the stomp, and then, yeah, you got your ultimate off, but, you know, for what is basically what that leads to.
Yeah, this is very similar to a draft that I used to play with Infernal Dawnlords quite a bit, except instead of the Skywrath, we would be playing the Shadow Demon. So, but besides that, we played these heroes quite a bit. So look for a lot of mid-game aggression and a lot of probably look to get the Centaur, get his blink off, pretty quick, and then look for some pickoffs. It's a Lich. Ooh. Yeah, you don't want to face rush into a Lich. That definitely changes things.
Well, and it also makes your laning stage very hard. And I think it was the first game today where you really touched base on the idea that mid-game centric teams require a strong laning phase to enter that mid-game with the items, the levels that they need to do what their strategy requires. And a Lich is a hero that's going to shut down one lane, which, you know, prevents whatever is in that lane from doing exactly what I just said. But also, like you said, running into a Lich, the ice armor on tower actually helps a lot against Death Prophet, a lot more than, you know, 9 armor is a lot of physical damage mitigation. But not only that, like you said, the ultimate, the chain bound, the chain frost. And, you know, sometimes you'll see an Agnant, generally speaking you won't, but what you will see out of Lich is a mechanism, tranquil boots, and that's all he really needs. And from that point on, anything else Lich gets is kind of ice on the, or frosting on the cake.
Yeah, obviously, Lich has a ton of utility here, but what he does is he compresses the mid game. So the mid game is actually much shorter in a game where Lich is, where Lich is present. So Hot Hands is going to have to, you know, the early game is going to be much longer, just because of the Lich kind of slowing everything down a bit. But the end game comes a lot much quicker because, of course, that Water is going to look to almost transition to that mid game before Hot Hands does. Is kind of how it pans out. It's a little weird to think of it that way and a little bit different than how you typically think of Dota. Because you generally think of the entire game transitioning to that mid-game at one point. But Lich kind of creates this imbalance where kind of Water will somewhat be in a little bit of an XP lead and be a little bit ahead. But we'll have to see how Hot Hands looks to deal with that, as they have built a quite mid-game centric team so far.
Right.
But,
and if they can get a decent laning phase, they could actually dictate the beginning of the mid-game phase with a Centaur Blink, or a Shadow Shaman Blink. However, that Pugna ward still just, it sucks, because no matter what Hot Hands could get from the laning stage, as we did see Venomancer start getting banned out, the Pugna ward and the Lich are just so hard. Like, you know, I almost want to say to you, like, you know, you're 100% right about this whole transitioning from the lane phase to the mid portion of the game. Technically, the later stages we do go high ground, but all of Hot Hands' means to do that are negated by the way Pugna and Lich work together. You can't run into a Lich, and you can't run into a Pugna. So, like, I feel like Hot Hands needs something special. They need to come out with... I mean, honestly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. But they need to be able to jump past that. And sure, they have the Centaur, and that's great and all, but how do they focus the ward after Centaur jumps in? And if they don't focus the ward, how do they survive for the duration of the fight so that that ward damage and mana doesn't affect them? Bristleback, not a bad answer. All right, well,
yeah.
I mean, that's a hero you can throw up front. He could just beat on the ward and spam W, to be entirely fair, and Centaur can initiate behind that.
He can do that, but what you want to do is actually, typically your ranged heroes are kind of assigned the role of focusing down that Pugna ward. So it's going to be Shadow Shaman and Skywrath that are mainly going to do it. Maybe Death Prophet will do it. Maybe Bristleback will do it. But I think how you... Like, typically the ward's kind of in the back, So I think Bristleback may actually push up past it depending on its placement, and that will allow Shadow Shaman and Skywrath the space to do it without having to commit their bodies too much towards the center of the fight and put them in a vulnerable position. But we have seen a Shadow Fiend picked up, and I think we've only seen this once in all of our games that we've cast together. So this should be interesting to see how Michael plays the Shadow Demon.
Well, we'll go ahead and let you introduce water off of that, as you've already started and got your feet wet,
Yeah, I did.
pun intended.
We'll have to do this quick as there is a smoke coming out of Hot Hands. But we have Bren playing the Witch Doctor. We have Moo on the Pugna. We have the D2 Sheriff on the Lich. We have Michael playing the Shadow Fiend. And we have Ohm playing the Doom. I believe that's the Ohm symbol.
That is. And then over here for the dire side, the fan favorites or the channel favorites, we have Hot Hands playing on the dire side. For them, we have Drop picking up the mid lane as that Death Prophet. Frugos picking up the Skywrath Mage Support. Briggy Uber back on that playing that off lane. Sorry, Centaur War Runner. We have Melisam on the support Shadow Shaman. And of course that leaves Cheech playing that Bristleback, looking for him to have another 14-0 performance, because having him 14-0 on a Bristleback is definitely one way to win this game. There are other ways for them to achieve a victory condition, but I definitely think the victory condition rests on the hands of Cheech and on the play from Centaur and Drop. The supports are always very important, don't get me wrong. As a support player, I'll definitely sit here and talk to you hours about why support players determine the vast majority of games. But in this game, the early phase is really hard to dictate because of the Lich. You know, we talked about this a lot in the draft. But then if Bristleback or Centaur have a really strong game, then it's going to be really hard for Water to stand against the face rush that comes out of Hot Hands. Even if you have a Lich ult, even if you have a ward. It doesn't matter if the Centaur has a heart ahead of whatever you have, and a Blink Dagger, and, you know, Bristleback also having like a Mech Vanguard a lot. Melisam, though, with that haste rune. Miz won't get a chance to speak yet, as D2 Sheriff is under big threat, and it is worth noting that this is a solo Centaur offlane, which means he is squishy, and that is the one huge weakness. Yeah, he'll pull the creep wave back, but with that concussive shot and all those right clicks, that's an easy first blood for Cheech. Exactly on the hero that I think is very important to how this game is going to break down, but I'll let you get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I was going to point out that Water went a little bit greedy by putting the Lich in the offlane and putting the Doom in the jungle, as Hot Hands is not going to let Shadow Fiend get a good start here, as they actually have devoted 2 Sentry Wards to blocking the 2 pulls that Shadow Fiend and potentially the Lich would have been stacking for Shadow Fiend to get him going in this early game. But they have devoted those 2 Sentry Wards, and maybe they'll even follow that up by rotating there and kind of stopping any kind of farming shenanigans that Shadow Fiend tries to do. But they have put the Doom in the jungle, and he does have 3 camps to work with, but it has been pinged out that those are all blocked off. But yeah, interesting. They are a little greedy. Lich is going to get what he can in that top lane. A lot of his experience is actually just going to be from sacrifice, which of course will give him experience and will help starve the enemy lane. But
Yep.
I'm actually a little surprised that they chose to do this and they didn't put Doom in the top lane. Although Doom definitely wouldn't have gotten much at all in this top lane.
No.
But I think putting Lich in the middle lane would have helped Shadow Fiend, and it certainly would have helped keep Drop down on the Death Prophet as a hero that typically likes to snowball. So it'll be interesting to see, as the supports are definitely free to roam around as they're doing right now.
They have Shackles and Concussive Shot after that first blood. They've gained quite a bit of experience. No wards to block their pulls. They have gotten some experience from that. But
Michael's positioning
yeah,
is really good.
it is definitely really good. They are aware of this, and as of now, for sure, we talked about this in a previous game, but it might not be enough as Michael get Concussive Shot up. That will give vision, plus that Arcane Bolt. Now the question is can Melisam can get off that Shackles? He's going to go for it, should go for it now, and he will. That'll be the death on Michael, and of course, you don't level up your ulti. Well, you can't level it up before level 6, but yeah.
Melisam may walk into you.
But yeah, the Ohm, aka Doom, but Doom doesn't have too much, and this actually might be the death of Doom, as he's going to get turned on by that. At their shock, they have the right clicks. We'll use the salve, and now Drop and Crew are a little bit caught out between multiple heroes here. The stun comes out from Witch Doctor. Frugo is taking a lot of damage. Again, he is a very low armor hero on that Skywrath Mage. Now Drop caught between 3 heroes from the Radiant side. Bryn looking to get that stun off, but will get shackled up, and now they're both going to run away, and they did play that very well, timing that out so they could escape. Michael will not be able to get a raise to clean up that kill.
I'm actually really surprised how that went. Ohm was... He frankly just made a mistake. He walked in, and if Melisande had Shackle up, he was about a second and a half to 2 seconds off of the Shackle cooldown. Had he been able to Shackle there, Ohm would have just died and fed. But he didn't, and it actually ended up in hot hands, just going maybe a little too deep, drop rotating in, and they ended up losing a hero because of it. But it was looking like they may actually lose a second, but Melisande with the heads-up play, shackling the Witch Doctor, who was body blocking. So just kind of freeing drop and making sure he got out of there. But good heads-up play.
We're going to actually see them get Moo here. Let you look at this in just a second as we have the concussive shot coming out. The Witch Doctor is off to the side, ready to throw that cast. We will see it go out on the Melisande, bounces over to Frugos, but the stun from Centaur onto Moo, and now they don't have any follow-up stun. The right clicks are there. Looks like Centaur will fall, but that just means more experience for the supports if they can net this kill. The Arcane Bolt is there, and the creeps actually block their own Witch Doctor as it now goes 2-4. As it looks like, actually, there's going to be another death in the top lane. Cheech! What a man! Is going to use his wand to swap, but now the right click is there from Moo, so Moo will go ahead and get that kill. A lot of experience off the back of that, and a 5-3 on the scoreboard.
You know what? Cheech may have died there, but what he did was he knew it was going to be marginal. He switched his treads to agility before using his magic stick and quickly switched back to the strength treads, just giving himself a little bit more HP. Yeah, unfortunately, he did live the tower shot, but he died to... of course, moves rotation on the Pugnet from above. But yeah, a lot of action in this game as well. We have 8 kills in 5 minutes.
Definitely the meta in the amateur scene is preferring a lot more action. Maybe that's because of the lack of relative coordination from compared to professional teams, or it may just be because these players tend to prefer more impactful roles or styles of play. Definitely some people prefer a knife fight over a sword fight, but actually in the top lane we're going to see Moo getting picked off here as he does get silenced up, does actually immune himself, or physical immune himself with that ethereal form. But Decrepify makes Skywrath Mage a boss when it comes to his damage, to say the least.
I think speaking to the kill totals and the fact that there is more in the amateur scene, I think a lot of it is attributed to the fact that there's a lot more mistakes that happen in the amateur scene than do happen in the pro scene. And I also find it's a lot more difficult to deal with a hero who's snowballing out of control from these less experienced teams versus the pros. So obviously that's going to attribute itself to just kind of playing a lot more snowball kind of style play and just kind of slugfest kind of games where you're just action.
Well, definitely makes it fun for us to watch, and definitely, I'm sure you guys love hearing me scream about matches. My relative screaming is, we do have roommates. This was a studio. I might try to AC it up. You never know. Never know. But Bryn in the bottom lane, maybe trying to go on Bergiuber. Will get away here though, as he is pretty damn tanky. All things considered, does have those tranquil boots now, but Ohm actually off to the side, does have the net, will get it. Does throw out the Scorched Earth, but the ultimate from Bergiuber might be able to protect him. He does actually get out with that ultimate stampede, that is, as well as the right click. Or now the right click's turning around. Will get the stun onto Ohm. Does go for the double edge, but that's definitely going to kill himself from the tick of Maledict. However, Drop has an Invis Rune ultimate, and he's just going to sit here and get kills. All he has to do is continue to shift click, and he will target his ghosts without having to worry about it. Looks like Moo. Oh, the Shadow Fiend! Michael with the clutch play, Drop running right into his death. And actually, there was a sentry ward here by the Radiant, so Moo could have turned around and right-clicked him, but honestly, that was a great juke there. Drop not running away.
We've watched quite a bit of Hot Hands recently, and I'm definitely a fan of Drop after his performance last game on the Invoker. But I've been in that position of the support player, where you've got a Death Prophet with Invis, and the ghosts are just killing you, and you have no way of doing anything about it, and just kind of falling. So it's kind of nice to see a little bit of revenge there, and the Death Prophet died. But, yeah, big heads up play by Michael.
Concussive shot onto Michael, and they might turn this round here, as he will fall from this, as there is the final Arcane Bolt to clean him up. The question is, will Frugos fall? I think the answer is yes, as the right click and Doom will secure that kill, and now the Death Ward coming out, actually sniping off to the side of Melisam. And yeah, of course, that Witch Doctor ultimate, there are two ranges to consider. The cast range and also the range on the ward. And sometimes some players will underestimate that, but definitely well played there by Bryn, using the maximum range to secure that kill.
Like we predicted, this game is not slowing down. We have 2 kills a minute right now. So, it's definitely an action-packed game. Only 1 tower has fallen so far.
Sheriff did get level 6 amidst all this action with the top lane falling, Bristleback killing him twice, and Mac also picked up a buy Bristleback as we have a moment to go ahead and collect ourselves into this game. We do see that Yule's build most likely coming out from drop. Michael not showing quite yet what he wants to build. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Midas coming out on him. Moot, of course, building into that mechanism. Isn't quite there yet. It is worth noting that, of course, drop already has him. We do actually see Drums of Endurance coming out for Doom. And that leaves Witch Doctor, as he's just going to go ahead and pick up a stick. Skywrath Mage already at his Arcane Boots. And Shadow Shaman with that Bracer. It looks like they're going to push bottom lane. And of course, he's level 6, has access to wards, and we're going to see them drop. Doesn't actually take any damage from that ward, which is very important. To dealing some damage, but it will get cleaned up now as the Chain Frost is there. Bouncing between Melisam and Frugos, dealing quite a bit of damage. The Death Ward is somewhere. I can't see it, as there's just too much going on here. We'll zoom out to try to get it all, as 2 heroes are already down for the side of water. It looks like Centaur Warrunner is getting chased down by Ohm on the Doom. He will get cleaned up by Doom, and now Cheech might want to turn this around as they do get the bottom tower. Bristleback, Cheech securing that last hit on the tower. 3 stacks of goo. Now the Mystic Flayer to finally clean that up. 3 heroes on the side of water, as well as a tower falling amidst all that. And hopefully, Niz, you caught the right side of that fight, because I caught most of the left side on camera.
Yeah, I did. D2 Sheriff actually threw out the Chain Frost from the trees down here, and he actually threw it on a creep so that it would bounce off the creep to the 2 heroes above it, just because he didn't have the range to reach the actual 2 heroes up there. That was actually quite a play there, but I think there actually was the chance it could have bounced to another creep and fizzled, but it didn't. But yeah, just kind of heads up play.
Michael in the mid lane catches the kill. I'm glad we saw that on the Skywrath Mage. However, Drop will be able to nab that kill. Drop will trade his life for it. And that definitely makes it an advantageous exchange for Water. As yes, they do lose their Shadow Fiend, who's an incredibly important snowball hero, and when behind, it's useless in a lot of ways. If he trades his life for 2 kills, then his team gets ahead, which gives him space to get ahead and catch up. And that's, you know, definitely the way that I think about it.
And of course, he's trading his life for. Well, he's not really trading, but it was a trade. One snowball hero.
Middle lane, sorry. Looks like Ohm staying a little bit too long. We'll get shackled up, as well as that Mystic Flayer cleaning him up. Centaur Warrunner throwing out that ultimate, so Bryn will be chased down by both of the swords. The ward is there, however, dealing tons of damage as Cheech is going to continue to take ticks from that over and over again. Michael back in the lane as Sheriff is here as well. He pops that one charge, still has the mech. He's going to use it now as they clean up the Lich, and now they're going to try to chase down Michael. No. They consider that's a bad idea, but maybe Drop it wants to kind of get this with Centaur off to the side. They will just clean up this ward here, and that will allow them, with the Drop getting or having Exorcism off of cooldown, to be able to take this middle tower. Okay, well then I don't know what to. Let me see what I can do for that.
I mean, I can. Sorry, we're just discussing the sound levels a little bit. Apparently, I am quite a bit quieter than Dota RaptorZ here.
I'm just
trying maybe just to
I just turned down my mic in OBS as well. That should hopefully resolve the question. I turned me down 20%. Hopefully that'll compensate. You're also maxed out on Skype, so if you guys in the chat could of course give us an update when you'll hear this in chat. That's when it'll be updated. Well, you'll hear this in chat. You'll hear this in the video, and then you guys can update us. But that being said, we see Roshan getting taken right now, as they did throw down that wards, and of course, this is one thing I love about Bristleback. That goo is so good against Roshan. It removes the Lincoln Sphere and provides minus armor, and allowing most of the heroes to do a lot more damage. Rosh will be cleared up first time in the game at 12 minutes and 37 seconds, meaning it will despawn at 18:37 in this game. So be looking for them to use it before that time. This is a question I think it's worth posing to you. This is kind of an interesting debate, but do you think it's worth it to immediately use Aegis when you get it? Or do you think it's worth it to, I mean, it's obviously situational, but in this game, do you think it's worth it for them to just run like this down middle lane as they will try to go for Elm, but I think he'll be okay? Or do you think it's worth it to sit back with the Aegis and farm up a little while and use the threat of it?
I think it entirely depends on the game and what kind of timer your team is associated with, or different timings in the game in terms of, how close your team is to acquiring that next big item, or how close your opponent is to acquiring that next big item. Because you should always have a pretty good idea of, regardless of whether or not a hero has items in its inventory, how close they are to getting that next big item. But I'm actually okay with them going down here. Going right down mid is Cheech is definitely the one who's going to have to play kind of balls deep here with the Aegis, but
They do get the
he
ward
doesn't
because
want
of
to throw
that.
it away.
Yeah, and he doesn't, and he does get the ward. And they do get a T2, and they trade a non-Roach tower for a T2 in the middle lane, and now it looks like they're going to go forward and clean up the Lich as we catch the tail end of that Cheech. Will lose the Aegis. So a full 5 minutes of that effectiveness. A little bit wasted there, but they do trade a T2 for a T1.
That was actually played completely perfectly. When they got, Cheech was getting low and they got the tower. But then I think it was a mistake when Uber jumped in, because, yeah, that's effectively...
Like I said, they don't want to stop, and now the Blink Stop onto Michael, going to prevent the counter initiation. They do have the silence come out as well, and now the Witch Doctor hurting Melisandre, but there isn't a Maledict on top of that, and Moo is going to get a concussive shot up. The Blast, cleaning up Shadow Shaman, however. Melisandre on the sidelines. We see the Crypt Swarm hitting on 3 as the Arcane Bolts are following. That Witch Doctor heal is just insane as his entire team is staying up. But Chicha, now the reinitiation, 3-man Blink Stop from Uber, followed up by a 3-man Hoof. Double Edge, dealing a ton of damage. Moo will get cleaned up. Maybe not with that great timed Ethereal Form. However, with that Yules into the Crypt Swarm, that's enough to clean it off. Michael does detonate his ultimate off to the side as he was healed up from wand charges. D2 Sheriff and Michael going to clean up Centaur, drop, and Frugo's going to run away. And we have a 3-for-2 trade. Niz, what happened? And
I was looking towards the right side of that fight, kind of centered around Michael and Cheech. And Michael actually started channeling the Requiem of Souls, and he canceled it because he didn't feel that it was going to be good. He actually didn't have vision of Cheech and where Cheech was. It actually would have gone off and killed him. But then he stepped up, and he actually ended up seeing Cheech. Was able to throw out, I think it was either 2 or 3 auto attacks, and killed Cheech. And then he chose to channel his ultimate again, and actually whiffed. It was close to hitting 3 heroes, but ended up hitting none of them. Yeah, it was... The whole fight felt...
Middle lane, Melisandre might be in big trouble here. He doesn't have access to a Blink Dagger. Will get ultimate. They do throw out the Stampede, and it's 63 HP. Melisandre walks away from a ultimate and 3 heroes.
Yeah, just overall, that mid-push felt a little forced. They didn't have Exorcism, and they really were trying to force and get that tower. They almost got it down to 470 HP, but I don't know if it was necessarily the right choice, because they ended up losing a lot of heroes because of it. But maybe they should have just backed up and waited the 50 seconds, 60 seconds that it would have taken for that Exorcism to come back up. But they chose to push it, and they got some damage on the tower. Maybe they just saw a little bit of a weakness, maybe essentially over-evaluated.
Uber in the middle lane will blink into Moo. However, the Witch Doctor is there with the cast, misses the Maledict. Now the Blast as well as the Life Drain, dealing a ton of damage to Uber, dropping down to 500 HP. The Mech, however, going to heal him up. And over on the left side, we actually see Drop fall to the tower as Michael is able to clean that up with his tower. Does get the entirety of that kill to himself. And now in the middle lane, it looks like Moo wants to posture up, does throw the Blast as well as the Decrepify onto Cheech. Now they throw down the ward, looking to start this fight. Frugos will get hit up by that Life Drain as well as the Maledict, and of course they're in that ward as, actually that's a Dire Ward. They did deward that earlier. Frugos is going to fall, however, as Bryn does get the final tick of damage on that with his Maledict, and 2 heroes down for Hot Hands as Water is set up to siege this middle lane.
You know what? Hot Hands has their foot down on the gas pedal, but it's not really working out for them.
Oh, and actually now Cheech is going to get doomed up by Ohm. They do also get the Decrepify as well as the Life Drain, but the Blink Stomp to stall that up will allow Cheech to escape here, meaning most of the damage will be negated. However, they do lose this tower still, and like you said, they had their foot on the gas pedal, but maybe a little bit overextending in that situation, and then it kind of just falling one by one until eventually they were able to stop the bleeding.
Uber jumped at the tier 2, and that felt a little ambitious. It
Oh,
was a
they're
little too
definitely
aggressive of a
not going
play.
to let up here. Okay, everyone is
And
out of
and then they ended up losing drop at the top between the tier where the tier two used to be and then the tier three. Um, but yeah, they're forcing it a little too much. I
Well,
think they
they're
have
going
an
to continue
advantage.
to force it here, and they are going to throw down the wards. They
This
have
is
drop
fine.
with the ultimate. Yeah, and I'd also like to point out he does have that Yules and a regen. They will get the ultimate off from both the Shadowfiend Witch Doctor and Lich, but that Death Ward dealing the most damage for sure is Cheech is dropping down to 360 HP. We see the concussive shot hitting in the back lines, but the T3 tower is down from nothing but cooldowns. And that's definitely something that Hot Hands is looking for. The question is, do they want to reinitiate here? I think the answer is no, because Cheech doesn't really have a reliable way to heal up that other 1,000 HP that he's missing right now. But definitely worth their cooldowns, I think, to get that T3 and, put water on the back foot for a little bit longer and stop that Shadow Fiend from snowballing. I mean, he only has a BK. He does have a BKB and a kilo and treads, but it is 20 minutes in, and generally speaking, I like to see Shadow Fiends with a little bit more gold than this. It's not bad, but you like to see him dominating the charts. And actually, they might be able to pick off Ohm here as he doesn't have a BKB. Mystic Flare and Stomp with the Ancient Seal. Cheech going to secure that kill, and actually at the same time, Moo is caught out, does get Yules up in the air as well, silent the concussive shot. Is going to chase him through the river. There's 2 more seconds of that. He throws down the ward, dealing a ton of damage, but honestly, it doesn't really matter as he gets cleaned up. 2 heroes on the sidelines for water is honestly Hot Hands is probably going to say, guys. 2 are on the sidelines. They don't have buyback, and we can just take high ground here.
Well, they've lost a little bit of HP, but the mech comes back out, and the only one who's actually critical in their levels was Drop in his mana levels, but of course he had the regen bottle.
And actually, they're going to catch out in the bottom lane. We see Burr hit a 2-man stun as well as the double edge. That's going to clean up Sheriff as he gets right-clicked down by Burr, but Burr is not quite done yet. Continuing to right-click on Michael, but will go ahead and back off. But the action is in the middle lane as Hot Hands, or Drop, is going to pop that ultimate. Doom goes out onto Cheech as we see the cast bounce between Death Ward only gets 3 instances of damage off this time as the Decrepify onto Drop. 4 heroes chasing him. The ward is down, but Drop is just kiting with that ultimate. You see him throw the Crypt Swarm to help ensure their escape, but they only get the ranged racks.
That was really good restraint from water. It looks like they were actually going to chase, and Hot Hands was preparing to turn around and jump on them and re-engage right around this position. But it was just good restraint from water, not chasing too far, not, tunnel visioning those that extra kill they may have gotten, because it was going to quickly turn the other way on them. But good restraint there, not kind of walking into their death essentially.
Yeah. No, and it's very important to have that in this situation because at the drop of a dime, they could lose their melee racks as well. And again, it's obvious when you say it sometimes, but there's a big difference between having a melee racks and not having a melee racks. And the play that attributes that, I'll move, maybe going to get picked off middle lane, but no, he does not die to that Mystic Flare as he was able to get out for the last half of its duration. But yeah, the play that leads to you losing your racks is definitely one that's going to be stuck in your mind. But being able to have the forethought to know what is a bad decision and what is a good decision is really important. And I'm glad to see that out of water. And that definitely shows to me that they have a decent chance to bring this game back. They have a lot of strong ultimates. They have a Shadow Fiend. The question is, can they weather the next 10 minutes to 15 minutes? Because Hot Hand's timing is basically at its apex in the next 5 minutes. And it'll slowly, or I guess 10 minutes, but yeah.
Absolutely. They've built quite a big lead for themselves in this game, and they've acquired quite a bit of map control by destroying towers. And as you can see, both teams actually recognizing the map control is about the same.
Oh, actually in the top lane, we might see Moofall as the Atos is there for Frugos, guaranteeing that solo kill. And it looks like Shadowfiend's going to try to TP away, but he's not going to get that as he does get stunned up double edge. Lots of right clicks. He doesn't even activate the BKB as it would be a waste. 2 heroes on the sideline and 2 very important heroes. Drop actually looking to go for his own kill here. He might throw Doom up into the air, chooses not to. We'll just kind of caress him back. That's a really weird way to say that. But yeah, Hot Hands is going to group up middle and go for the melee racks.
They did lose 2 heroes, but it's important to note that they lost those 2 heroes on the other side of the map, which means by the time this push actually reaches the water base, Pugna's already going to be up, and Shadowfiend's going to be getting close to his respawn timer.
I actually think they're going to be able to
Still has
snipe the
about 20
racks
seconds.
before
Yeah.
Shadow Fiend is up. The question is really on Water as a whole without their Shadow Fiend. Can they defend this racks without him? They do have Ohm in the background with the
behind.
potential, yeah, but he is standing on top of a Dire Ward, and now we see the Witch Doctor ultimate as well as the Chain Frost dealing a ton of damage to Bergie Uber. He will fall, but Drop is still alive. Is going to run into the background, does get the sheep off onto Ohm, and now they're going to focus him down with that Death Prophet ultimate. He will fall. 2 heroes on the side of Hot Hands, but with that Death Prophet ultimate as well as Cheech in the back lines, the Witch Doctor, or sorry, the Shadow Shaman, Melisandre, will be able to escape here, and that makes for a tower, or racks, sorry, for 2 heroes. Water maybe wants to capitalize on this right now? Is that why they're pushing down middle?
Yeah, I guess, but Hot Hands has just fallen back to Roche, which is probably not the most expected play. But it's turning out to be the right play and right decision from them.
Well, if I recall correctly, it was 12:37 was our first Roche timer, so it is.
They should know what's up.
Yeah, they should definitely know, but you know, after 11 minutes, no contesting of Roche, and you have to remember they lost the Aegis really early. Sometimes that can kind of slip by in the action, and it's going to hurt Water in this next fight, big time.
Yeah, but we'll have to wait and see what they're able to accomplish with this, as we saw their first use of the Aegis was actually looking like it was going to be really good. Cheech playing really aggressive, trying to create space with the Bristleback, knowing that he did have Aegis, but they ended up throwing it away because of that questionable engagement.
He might be able to catch out Michael as he is running into the trees here. Does get silenced up here now. Drop. Unfortunately, yeah. I guess
pathing.
Yeah, I can let you explain
Unfortunately, the hero blocking the pathing, even though it's in fog, so your hero can't go to where you want it to. It's a change I actually wish was implemented, but they don't get the kill as we see a 5-man smoke immediately from Water pushing out into their jungle, trying to pick off the
might be the one who picks off here, but he does get vision that immediately blinks away. The rest of the team is behind me, but yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to catch this. The other heroes, Frugos and Bristleback, aka Cheech, in the area. Now 4 heroes for Hot Hands, and make it 5 in just a second as we're going to see Melisandre, I assume, TP back with a full Aghanim Scepter. It looks like, Niz, we have hit the apex, as honestly their push isn't going to get too much stronger. Their heroes, yes, are going to get stronger, but as a whole their push doesn't get much bigger or more terrifying than this. They could pick up maybe a Desolator or something, but they have about 10 minutes to win this game before it really gets sketchy.
What they're going to do is they're going to push up the lane, let their creeps get essentially to the tower. They're going to use the Aegis on Bristleback to push up and breach the high ground. He'll probably push up to around here, just behind the racks, and that will allow Ross to step up, drop the wards, and the exorcism to do work. But don't look for Cheech to commit too much further than that. If he does, I think it could turn out poorly for them.
Well, Pugner Ward does go down, and yeah, we do see the exorcism as well. Pipe is popped in the background. There was a flank, as that flank is kind of just swatted away, as we do see the Witch Doctor fall, the BKB as well as the ultimate being channeled by Michael, but the Yule's dodging it from Drop, so he shouldn't fall yet. Cheech is going to get on a killing spree as he's coming around the flank this time, but he's a much bigger, much scarier man as he still has that Aegis. Already used his BKB, but he's just chasing back Michael. Michael will get the kill on him, but that's only the Aegis life for right now. We do see the tier 3 at a decent amount of HP, so Hot Hands not able to get too much structural damage here, as Cheech is actually going to get focused here. Great play here by Moo to tuck himself in the trees, but Cheech able to derange that life drain. And it looks like Hot Hands is unfortunately going to have to back up here, and they did lose the Aegis.
Yeah, that team fight didn't work out how I was originally anticipating, and that was because Water did a good job of flanking. They knew that was a possibility, and most likely that was going to happen with the fight. They came around and they flanked. It meant that the roster wards weren't on the high ground. They were down there, and the exorcism was mainly spent down here on towers. Had Hot Hands been able to breach the high ground, they would have gotten spread out, and Water would have had a very difficult time engaging on them. So it was a good job flanking from them. It looked a little questionable at the start, but it turns out to work very well in their favor. And Cheech did a good job of pushing up far. I think he went a little bit too far, but he basically took Michael out of the fight, but also took himself out of the fight. But Yeah, it was a good defense by Water. It was a really good flank, and it worked out well for them.
Yeah, well, it definitely seemed questionable at first, as I said, but the buyback from Doom definitely helped secure that fight.
Yeah.
I definitely like how you point out that Cheech being all the way over here prevented a lot of his assistance to the fight in this area of the map. We do see some drawing from Orange.
As a big tanky hero like Bristleback, especially when you have an Aegis, you want to basically push past the fight and zone someone like a Shadow Fiend out of the fight. However, you want to stay close enough to the fight so that your spines are still having an impact on the fight. He pushed a little too far, so his spines were only basically part of the fight between him and the Shadow Fiend, rather than also contributing to helping his team in the fight. So he pushed up a little far.
Well, they're going to go into bottom. It looks like BKB is going to be popped by Shadow Fiend, now down to 6 seconds. That will assist Hot Hands in the next fight. Of course, they did blow the Stampede for that. But the split push will begin as, of course, Doom is in the top lane as well as Bren. But no, they're just going to TP back as Drop is in the area. They might want to try to flank him as they're aware of his positioning. The cast goes out, bounces between two heroes at first, but now onto the creep wave. The blink forward by Bergy gets the stun on Michael. Remember, he does not have his BKB. The Death Ward gets channeled out, dealing a ton of damage to Bergy, but Ohm is dropped before he can get off the Doom. And now the ultimate comes out from Shadow Fiend, but not doing too much as the Chain Frost is actually doing a lot. The Yules is throwing up the Shadow Fiend in the air. He's not taking a lot of damage. We'll turn around on a Drop. It should get the kill beforehand, trades his life in the end for this as the wards are giving them some sort of place to fight. We do see the shackles coming out from Melisandre as he's fighting off on the side. Moo will fall to the magic, or yes, will fall to the Mystic Flower, sorry, the Magic Missile. Not Magic Missile, sorry. You guys know what I mean, Arcane Bolt. Of course, Michael bought back will be able to defend this high ground, but they did lose their melee racks for all of this, and Michael did buy back. That's going to stall Shadow Fiend's item progression quite heavily for the next few minutes. But the question is, can Hot Hands stabilize on this? Because again, we said they had about 10 minutes to win this game. They have about another 5 to 10 minutes before their lineup is really going to start to run out of options, and they're kind of left with running at them in a lot of ways. I definitely agree with you that Death Prophet is a carry, but I don't think Death Prophet can carry with a Bristleback against what Water's bringing to the table.
You know what? I don't think it's as dire right now that they need to end the game. I think the last 2 engagements have basically been rather stalematy. I don't think one team has gotten an advantage over the other. Obviously, as this game goes on, it's probably going to be a little bit more Water favored. But I think Hot Hands can go much deeper into this game. I don't think it's immediate that they need to win in the next couple minutes, but it will get to that point. And they were able to get the range racks there, so their lanes are gonna put a lot more pressure on. So Hot Hands is gonna be able to manipulate the map much better, as it looks like they're actually gonna go and pressure top potentially.
Yeah,
and let their creeps kind of put pressure on the middle lane and the bottom lane, and force the hero.
So I'm gonna test your support knowledge instead of googling this, because I don't remember at what point in the game do double range creeps start spawning.
I don't know.
I think it's 40 minutes. I think it's 40 minutes. So that's when you'll see that range racks make a bigger impact. But for now, of course, just one big creep. It does actually add a lot of damage too, because they are piercing. And, melee creeps take more damage from piercing damage than they do from hero damage. Actually, it's interesting, but yeah, that lane is getting pushed out a little bit. Mid was pushed in by the Radiant, but now Ohm actually is caught out between multiple heroes. They have sight of him. The blink in by Berg gets the stun, and now the Stampede. They're going to do a ton of damage to Doom, already dropping down to 800 HP, but he's trying to run away. He's going to fall in the end, though, as the Chain Frost does bounce between, and now the BKB popped by Berg to stop most of the damage onto him. Most of the damage is only dealt to Cheech, as they're going to look to go high ground now.
And you know what? Not only is Ohm's buyback on cooldown for another 20 seconds, but he also is 100 gold short of buyback. So he's not going
to... No, he's actually a lot more. He's 500 gold short, yeah, so... I think he said 100, unless you meant to say 500, but sorry. Anyways, Michael will pop that BKB, channel the ultimate. Cheech taking a ton of damage, but Cheech just wants to tank this as we actually see silence as well as the Mystic Flare onto the background onto Bryn. He's taking a ton of damage, but the wards and the exorcism are doing what they're supposed to this fight. As Bryn is taking a ton of damage, the top racks is exposed as the tier 3 does fall, leaving no outer towers alive. Michael dropping down to 100 HP as Cheech wants this kill. He's going to continue chasing, but I think he dies for it. The question is, do they get the racks? As the blink forward from Brigadier Burr is going to try to clean up D2 Sheriff. The exorcism is over, but the wards clean up the melee racks, and now the range racks at half HP. They do have the Maledict onto Melisam. He's going to continue to drop here as he does end up falling. Moo is trying to stand tall. Well, Burguber blinks back in, gets a double stun. Drop on the sidelines, pulling 2 heroes to the other side. The wards will get cleaned up, and with that, and these final 2 kills, I think Drop should die in the end. And in the top lane, it looks like Burguber. Oh my god, he might actually escape another blink forward by Doom. Drop does, however, get away alive. 1 melee racks, 1 range racks. On opposite sides, 2 racks total remain for Water, as Hot Hands is looking to push this over past the cliff and in this game.
Yeah, this game has basically been on a knife edge, or the edge of a cliff right now for Water, as they've just barely been holding on. But Drop's getting the top range racks for free. But unfortunately, when they lost Ohm there, that just meant that they were just going to lose the top racks in that top fight. And it did win Hot Hand's favor. They did lose some heroes as they exited, but now they've only got 1 racks left.
Yep. As I tried to.
I saw that you wrote that.
I tried.
Yeah.
It looked all right for mouse drawing.
It's okay for scribble.
Yeah, you know. I'm best in A. You guys can't say anything. I'm just kidding. We will see Roche get taken during this, and this is the 3rd Roshan of the game.
Oh, no,
so, of course, that's cheese.
Spotted.
Now, and actually, if Michael gets picked off here by Frugos, however, he does have that BKB, so I don't think he should die here. He does pop the Manta Style as well, and now maybe Frugos might be the one who falls.
What was that?
I don't know, but unfortunately, a free kill. But to be fair, you know, that kind of play buys buys a lot of space and time for Hot Hands to take this Roche, because, I mean, you've experienced this too. When something like that happens, that takes up a lot of communication on the side of Water, as well as thought. You know, why the hell did he do that? And then Roche. And, you know, now Ohm is actually might get caught out here. He still hasn't been able to finish his BKB and is actually going to get picked off before he's even able to finish. It drops down to 200 gold and will die now. The Death Ward comes out, but Drop is able to send himself up in the air to mitigate most of that damage. Moo is standing off to the side. The Ward continuing to chunk away at people, but honestly, Michael is going to fall. Moo should fall as well, as Bren is dropping really low, trying to man up, but he can't do enough. Drop eats the cheese, and that's the GG as Bren calls it, and you see Hot Hands advance to round 5. What a game. What a game. Actually, it's the semifinals, actually. Hot Hands in the semifinals tonight, guys. What do you think about that game, Liz?
It was good. It was good. I don't know. I don't know what more can be said. Hot Hands played really well. They put a lot of pressure on. Water did what they could to buy some time. You could tell that early game, they probably didn't get as much as they were expecting to get. The Doom jungle felt a little slow. I thought the Doom picking up Vlad's was a little questionable. I think maybe if he had picked up the Blink earlier instead of the Vlad's, it could have had more potential to stop some of the early pushes, as he was doing a lot of kind of sneaking behind them, behind Hot Hands, and kind of coming in from the rear for the team fights. But if he had a blink, he could have just blinked in from behind and gotten the Doom off on Drop before he was able to pop Exorcism. But he didn't do that, and I don't think that was the deciding factor. But I think it could have helped Water do a little bit better. But Hot Hands just played well again.
Yep.
You know, they made only a few major mistakes, but they weren't game-changing mistakes. So maybe major is the wrong term, but they did play well, and you know, they definitely deserve the win here, and they will move to the next round. Yeah,
and they will be playing Fish to Fish, and we'll be bringing you guys that game as soon as it comes up. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this cast, please follow on Twitch TV/DotaRaptors. That's where we're going to cast. Please follow Niz on his Twitter @NizCast, as he guys keeps you updated with what matches and who we're playing or who we're watching. And then, of course, if you guys enjoy these casts and you want to watch them on your own leisure, you can check out my youtube.com/DotaRaptors, where all of the VODs are uploaded. But guys, we'll be getting into the next match after a short break, and we will bring you the next game's action.